How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to talk about China.
Yeah, yeah. What's going on?
Did you see that article about the BSN that launched in China? That well, two things. China launched the DCEP, which is basically their digital RMB, digital central bank digital currency. But
Mhm.
this BSN is like an enterprise blockchain network that they have launched with 100 city nodes already, and they plan to have like a new internet protocol for all their trading partners that accesses many cloud networks, that allows 5G and artificial intelligence to run on top of it, that allows IoT and big data on top of it. I mean, like, can you think of the US doing anything like that?
Well, not right now, especially like the article says that they announced this in November. The president announced it. And now in the middle of the pandemic, they have gotten it off the ground. And to answer your question, no. I mean, I know Libra is very different, but when I think of their efforts to try to create a platform with different nodes, and they're not even governmental entities, they're just private companies that they're trying to get on board. I mean, was it like been a year and they've like pivoted a little away from like the basket of currencies to now in different stable coins, nowhere near as complex as this. And so no, it's insane the level of innovation that China is like churning out.
Yeah, and this is just like the perfect time because
Mhm.
allowing them to build this network and being able to trade digitally, and being able to have other cities, like I think they wanted like 450 cities ultimately hooked up to this, providing blockchain as a service, like allowing people to pay their utility bills. I mean, all of these things are a buffer against economic shocks that we're experiencing right now.
Mhm.
And Libra, which was like came out in June, July. I'll never forget the hearings on the Hill with Zuckerberg saying, "Look, if you don't allow us to do this, China's going to do it." And the next day, President Xi says, "Okay, let's do this." So what was in the works for years in China just got fast tracked, and now how many months later is it? Like 9. They're already up and running,
Mhm.
and it's they're using like Hyperledger Fabric permissioned. That they forked off that, but it's unbelievable, and it really should be a wake-up call to the US. And I know that Giancarlo and the Digital Dollar Initiative is underway, but the US feels they don't need to rush into it, even though the stimulus checks, it was proposed and then people couldn't get their money because we didn't have a digital way for people to get it. But it's going to come up again because Congress is meeting soon, in a few weeks, and so you wonder, when is the digital dollar going to go into effect, given China's, this is like the space race, right? It's like the Sputnik moment. And it really can affect a new world order if it hasn't already.
The article talks about how the BSN network will form the backbone to the digital Silk Road, to connect China's trade partners around the globe. I've never heard of the digital Silk Road.
Because it didn't exist until this.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was just the Silk Road.
Yeah.
It was just trade and trade wars.
So China's just basically taken the lead on a very essential digital network. And it says, okay, so it says that it'll provide interconnectivity to other trade partners around the globe. How does that work? Is this network now going to force other countries to have to develop a solution in order to interact with China on a trading standpoint? Yeah.
It sounds like it. It didn't talk about that, but it certainly seems like they will have to.
Is this something that, not that I want to see it, but is this something that a private company needs to, like Facebook needs to take the charge on in the US? Because it sounds like the person leading the helm of this, I'm not sure who, whether it was really a governmental undertaking or whether there was a private company that's kind of taking the lead on this.
I think it was a combination, and I think it's going to have to be a combination of public and private entities offering the best of what they have to offer, um, for the digital dollar as well. But I know that China had like over 100 patents filed on this, and I don't know if they were in the name of the government or private organizations, but yeah, they also did that, just to make sure nobody copied it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think it's going to take for even the digital dollar to be implemented here in the US. It feels like this was the moment where, and hopefully this next session, like you mentioned, that's coming up, maybe that will be the moment. But the stimulus checks and the urgency that where the everyday individual needs that money. Yes, there have been other applications like Cash App that has facilitated that. And yes, the IRS did get the website where you could check on the status of your stimulus up and running. It didn't take months at least. But what do you think it's going to take for the digital dollar to push through and get approval?
It's an excellent question, and I don't really know the answer. I think the dollar is still the global reserve currency, and there's more demand for the dollar now through this crisis than ever, as other currencies are deflating.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody wants the dollar. It remains to be seen whether the dollar remains the global reserve currency. And I think there wasn't an urgency or a need to digitize it with all the strength that the US was feeling, but now that's changed, certainly. Mm-hmm. So I think there'll be more pressure on getting it going. They just want to make sure that they consider all the stakeholders and get it right before rushing into it. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure exactly the breakdown of which congressional reps are pushing the digital dollar because partisanship always comes into play when something is being pushed, and the elections coming up. To me, it seems too innovative a measure to expect it to be passed like in this run-up. We're 6 months away from the election, which promises to be another very heated, uncontroversial election. So I don't think that we're going to see anything before November, and I think we might need to see more of a consumer demand and a push for something. I mean, I think that could be one avenue to see some shift in consumer behavior and a willingness to explore these digital alternatives. But having a very passionate, non-controversial congressional member push for this, I think could be another way. But I just don't think we're going to see it before November. Maybe it's a long way off. But once the winner of the November election, whoever that is, takes office next January, and then maybe it'll be an initiative 1 year after the pandemic has really just taken a hold. Maybe that will be an initiative. What do you think? Timeline? No, not even considering what needs to happen, but when do you think we might see this?
I think your point about the election is right. And so I'm going to say 2020 is a wash on anything except survival. And 2021, I think we might. So what do you guys think? Do you think when digital dollar?